So, after watching the first few episodes of Irresponsible Captain Tyler the first time, I decided to sample Martian Successor Nadesico from my friend's DVD collection. After seeing only the first 2 episodes, I was like, damn, this show must be in my possession. However, it was an old ADV licensed title and, well, it wasn't available. And I wasn't happy about it.
Damn it, why did ADV have to die? Now I'm never gonna see the rest of this awesome show, man. Nobody's gonna relicense this.
However, a few months passed by and I saw from Right Stuff's anime catalog that Nozomi Entertainment relicensed Nadesico for future re-release.
We Action Jackson. Alright, exactly what I hoped for. Exactly what I hoped for.
Eventually, at a dealer's room in Louisiana this year, I managed to get my hands on a copy of this amazing anime, but why is it so amazing? Here's why. Martian Successor Nadesico is a 1996 sci-fi dramedy series that takes place in the future of the year 2196, where Earth is at war with a mysterious race known as the Jovian Lizards. A company called the Nergal Heavy Industries constructed an advanced battleship called the ND-001 Nadesico. Gohori and Mr. Prospector round up its crew members, which are civilians with really unique quirks about them, and they are all led by their very cheerful, bubbly captain, Yurika Misamaru. However, before the Nadesico took off, a cook who was also a survivor from Mars during the first Jovian attack came on board the Nadesico out of recognizing the captain from his childhood. He ends up not only being a cook for the ship, but he becomes a backup pilot for the combat mechs called the Estiavalas. But he would rather just stay as a cook and watch his favorite anime series, Geki Gengar 3. The only reason why he chose to stay on board the Nadesico is because it was heading to Mars to see if it could find any survivors out there. This is one of the shows I regret not watching a long time ago, especially when I was in that period of watching mostly ADV related titles, because this anime is definitely on my top 10 favorites now. It has almost everything I like from anime. Futuristic sci-fi setting that isn't a dystopia of some sort, check. Space adventure, a little bit of it, check. Crazy cast of characters, check. Satire on anime fandom, oh yeah, there's a check mark there too. Nadesico's story itself starts off pretty simple with just humans versus unknown alien force, like a lot of mecha shows out there. However, there are a couple mystery plots, like regarding the main character Akito, like who killed his parents when he was a child, and how did he miraculously survive the Jovian attack on Mars. Now, as the story progresses, a lot of twists and surprises are revealed that did have my jaw hit the ground, especially during the middle of this 26 episode run series. Now, while it does have some good drama, the tone itself feels a little close to another favorite show of mine, Slayers. In other words, it's more comedic and silly than dramatic, with various gags like puns and fourth wall breaking and a bunch of other silly stuff. Now, one gag I do like in this series is whenever 2 or more characters are not in the same room but they still need to communicate with each other, they use a floating holographic TV monitor to do so. And the results are cartoonishly interesting. I mean, the monitors will move around and match with the characters' expressions, and they never really explain how they were able to communicate that way, they just can. The crew of the Nadesico is pretty entertaining. Most of them are female, including their captain. You do have some male characters, and almost all of them get some sort of character development, even if it is pretty minor. However, I'm only going to talk about 3 characters of the Nadesico crew extensively, just to keep this video as short as I can. Akito Tenkawa, born and raised on Mars, even though he has nanomachinery that allows him to pilot the Estiavalas mechs, all he wants to be is a cook. That's about it. However, when he does get into an Estiavalas, he's a pretty competent pilot, so he was assigned as a backup early in the series, but as it progressed, he was promoted to full-time pilot, which didn't feel like that big of a change in the first place, since he was always piloting one at least once an episode. He joined the Nadesico by accident when he was looking for his childhood friend Yurika, and was further motivated when he found out they were going to Mars, where he wishes to find out the mystery behind his murdered parents. Oh, so he thinks he's Batman now. Now, what sticks out about Akito for me is the whole chef angle with him. That, and as a character, to me, he comes off like an older, more badass version of Shinji Ikari. That would actually be explained more when I talk about the audio of this anime. Another character is Yurika Mizumaru, the captain of the Nadesico. Very cheerful, pretty optimistic, daughter of an admiral that gives her extremely awkward compliments. She chases Akito around the Nadesico whenever she can, much to Akito's annoyance. And despite her ditzy attitude, she's a pretty good captain, and it's shown why she was chosen for this mission. Even though there was probably enough screen time for Yurika, I still wanted to see more of her. I found her to be really hilarious, and I was actively rooting for her to get with Akito whenever she could. And most of the time, the hilarity does ensue when they're together. Yurika's all like, "I love you, Akito," and Akito's like, what, huh, what? And finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about Ruri Hoshino, a character I'm bringing up because she's a fan favorite, because she's so cute, and she's so adorable. And yes, I was annoyed when I said all that, but it has less to do with Ruri and more to do with anime fan bases in general. The youngest member of the Nadesico, Ruri is a prodigy that operates the Nadesico's computer, which she eventually names Omoikane. She acts more like a cynical Rei Ayanami and feels like she's surrounded by idiots. Ruri is not very sociable with the other crew members, and she narrates an episode recap before the opening credits. Now, the whole cynical thing does sound like a negative trait that would actually make her the opposite of a popular character, but I found her snarky comments gave me a few chuckles, and there were times where I can actually relate to how she feels. And you have too, don't lie, there were times where you do feel like you were surrounded by idiots yourself. As for the rest of the crew, you have a voice actress for a comm officer who may be a reference to Megumi Hashibara, the voice actress that dominated the entire 90s, a secretary for a helmswoman, a mechanic who really wanted to get away from his wife and kid as soon as possible. Trust me, it's actually funnier than it sounds. And then more characters get introduced and become part of the Nadesico crew, such as 3 new Estevales pilots, and one of them is an emo-looking girl that makes really bad puns that I actually laugh at. Let's move on with the art and animation now, shall we? Art and animation was provided by Studio Zebek. Now, the Nozomi version of Nadesico is actually using remastered footage from a Japanese DVD release, meaning they did some art tweaking and scenery drawings in order to improve the quality. I know this because at the beginning of every DVD in the collection, they slap a disclaimer warning it would mess with the audio sync for the English dub. Now, with the exception of one particular scene in the middle, somewhere in the middle act of the show, I haven't noticed anything painfully obvious about the audio going out of sync or not syncing properly with some of the characters. Also, since I only saw the first 4 episodes of the ADV version, I'm not exactly sure what changes they made. Couldn't find a comparison gallery online either, which sucks because I have a fascination seeing the differences between certain versions of shows and stuff. But I do love the art style, for it had things that I liked in anime's design that made it more enjoyable for me, such as crazy hair colors like blue and green, crazy exaggerated expressions, and that thing when somebody says or does something stupid or ridiculous, everyone else in an earshot distance falls over as a reaction. I don't see that often in most modern anime. Oh yeah, no CG, so even the mechs are hand-drawn, so hopefully people who have a thing against CG would be able to enjoy this show's art style even more. And each individual Estevales mech has slight variety in their shape and design, not a whole lot. The thing that makes them different though are their bright one-palette colors that help individualize them more. I also need to talk a little bit about Geki Gengar 3 and its art style. Geki Gengar 3 is Nadesico's show within a show, and it starts off pretty small. It just starts off as just an anime that Akito and a few other pilots and crew members liked. However, as the show progressed, Geki Gengar 3's importance starts to grow more and more until there was actually a message about anime at the very end of the series. The series being Nadesico, not Geki Gengar 3. Anyways, The art style of Gekigengar 3 is supposed to look more like the art style of 1970s animes like Getter Robo, and they actually nailed it pretty well. It could actually pass for a legit anime series from the early mid-70s. If it didn't have ties to Nadesico, I probably would have believed it was made earlier than it was. Martian Successor Nadesico was dubbed by ADV, a company you still wish didn't break itself into separate fragments like Section 23 and Sentai Filmworks. Now, I've always liked ADV's dubbing and casting, with a few exceptions like Samurai Showdown and Ghost Stories. I really did not like either of those two. But I enjoyed this dub for Nadesico, as well as I enjoyed Excel Saga's dub and Azumanga Daio's for various reasons. ADV self-referenced itself with some of the cast choices. Spike Spencer, most well known for Shinji Ikari in Neon Genesis Evangelion, plays the role of Akito Tenkawa, and that's why I said Akito reminded me of an older, more badass version of Shinji. And it gets it'll be obvious when you hear Akito's crazy, insane screaming. His performance was very energetic, maybe too energetic for some people, but I'm actually going to think of this role more than Shinji whenever I think of Spike Spencer. And speaking of Evangelion, Tiffany Grant, who voiced a red-haired tsundere named Asuka, voices a green-haired tsundere named Ryoko in this show. By the way, Ryoko Subaru is one of the few tsundere archetype characters I actually like. Ruri's voice is meh. Some people would be critical of it because it's not cutesy enough, especially when you compare it to the never-before-released Japanese 5.1 audio. But Kira's got the deadpan snark down for her character at least. Now, the opening song, You Gets Burning, feels a little action-driven, gets me pumped for a fight, so much that I actually stumbled upon another version that makes it more dramatic in style. There's even a background song version that plays in the show that makes it sound even more epic. As for the ending credits song, I didn't really care for it all that much. I would always skip the ending credits song and just jump straight to the previews in the next episode. So overall, I freaking love this show. Space, big cast of characters, and though it has dramatic elements, it doesn't take itself too seriously. Even if you have the original ADV DVD release, I still say pick up the Nozomi Entertainment copy, and I recommend this for anyone who wants more fun in their anime and still care about characters. The Nozomi re-release not only contains the entire show, but also contains the motion picture Prince of Darkness, which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard mostly negative things about it, so I'm going there with extreme caution. But it also comes with a Gekigengar 3 OVA that wasn't released in the States before, along with some other bonus material. Some of the episodes, I don't know of all of them, but there are some episodes dubbed that you can find on the website Hulu, and I think you can also find a few episodes on Nozomi Entertainment's YouTube page. So that's all I have to say about this anime, and that's my fill on futuristic sci-fi shows. Let's actually move on to some modern day fantasy with Negima, the Studio Shaft TV series first, then the big manga vlog. Stay tuned for that as well as other future videos. Darkscream 217 signing out.